Today, right, we're going to learn about not exactly a new subject, but something new for you. Okay, and it's called EHL, Exploring Humanitarian Law. Do you know what's the meaning of exploring? Yes. What? Discover. Other words? Find out? Okay. What about humanitarian? Something that has got to do with? Human, us. Okay, all of us. What about law? What do you know? Something that you have to follow, for example, rules, regulations, things like that.
Exploring Humanitarian Law is a program for young people. It's a school program, and it focuses on the rules of war, international humanitarian law. What are the protections that vulnerable people need during times of war or armed conflict?
I'm going to divide you into some groups. Your task is to find out the meaning of human dignity. What is the meaning of human dignity?
The key concept of this method is human dignity. In my opinion, it's the most important concept of the entire program. How to respect human dignity at all times, and then conduct humanitarian work that focuses on human dignity. That's the most important, in my mind.
In times of conflicts where you find situations are so tense, and people often forget that they are dealing with the other side or with humans, and they just forget about human dignity, and that's where I think you need to come back to this concept.
Do you think there's a way to avoid this violence? Do you? Yes? You will write it, but at the end, we will put it on the blackboard.
In many curriculums, the teacher has all the knowledge, is the boss, and gives the knowledge to the students. In this curriculum, both teachers and students don't necessarily have all the knowledge.
We explore together. It's not somebody telling me what it is, but I myself have the opportunity to develop my own ideas, to develop my own values.
One of the most important concepts of the course is how to put yourself in the shoes of somebody else.
It is very opposed against the notion of explaining, where you find the traditional approach, you find teachers are quite comfortable with explaining. So here, on one hand, you are not explaining what it is, but you are getting the learners to explore the issues. And the role of the teacher is to explore together with the learners.
Ovidio was afraid to tell his parents, of course. But he must have had a reason, no? Anyone agree? For example, Eliana thinks such and such. Joel thinks such and such. What do you think? Very good.
You want the students to be able to give their point of view. You want them to be able to discuss the issues. This is a plain pedagogical issue that students learn better through actually participating, giving their opinions, giving evidence for their opinion, than just listening to somebody who has all the knowledge.
We've imparted the basic principles of international humanitarian law in case studies, stories, collages, photos, videos, sketches. That's how we facilitated access to the information, by applying adapted pedagogical methods.
The learner is actively involved. the student is actively involved in the process. And of course, not the teacher not completely taking a back, but guiding the learners in the process.
Well, that's why the active pedagogy is so important. If you read the Geneva Conventions to students, that's very complicated. But if you show them photographs of the devastation of war and you say, what are the problems here and what rules would you have to ameliorate those problems, then they can understand.
What do we do? And what if they're kidnappers?
I don't want to get into trouble. I'm very little. I'm afraid.
You don't care about what happened to Lucia? Pedro, you can't be that indifferent.
I won't say a word, and you won't either. You hear that? They could kill us.
Anyhow, Pedro, I gotta go now. Ciao, take
Ciao.
care.
It's important to teach EHL now because there is conflict in the world now, but even if there were not conflict, young people who are going to be the future leaders of their nations or ordinary citizens need to know what are the rules that pertain during armed conflict.
If you look at young people, this is an impressionable age. And this is an age where they form opinions, perceptions, and these leave lasting impressions on them for life at times.